They thought they were invincible until humans showed them who's boss, until humans killed them all. Welcome to another gripping tale from Sci-fi Humanity. In a galaxy where the strong dominate the weak, the Croat Empire thought they were untouchable, the apex predators with nothing to fear. But what happens when the hunters become the hunted? As the reptilian invaders descend upon Earth, expecting easy prey, they soon realize that humans are far more dangerous than they ever imagined. What drives a species to fight back when all seems lost? And what happens when an empire built on fear faces a species that refuses to bow? Join us as we unravel a story of survival, defiance, and a battle that will determine the fate of an entire galaxy. The Croat thought they were invincible, until they met humans. The massive reptilian predators tore the humans apart, ripping their flesh as the humans screamed. The predators were almost 3 meters tall and had razor-sharp claws and armlet scales to them. Humans were just another species to conquer. They were wrong. Captain Elrid stood confidently on the bridge of his warship. He was the most feared commander in the Croat Empire, the apex predators of the galaxy. His fleet of 100 ships, armed with plasma weapons, was approaching the human star system called Sol. The primitive apes had barely invented space travel. Enslaving them would be easy as his ships entered the system. Elrid was shocked. The humans already had colonies on several planets and moons. Their technology was better than Intel had reported. This would be a real fight, and if his fleet failed, the Croat Empire was doomed. Elrid snarled, baring his fangs. The hunt was on. Hunt. The Croat warships descended on the human colonies like a swarm of locusts. Plasma cannons charged up with an ominous hum, targeting the settlements below. Elrid watched the tactical display with a predatory grin, savoring the moment before the slaughter. He expected the primitive humans to scatter in terror, easy prey for his warriors, but as the first plasma bolts rained down, the humans fought back with a ferocity that stunned. The Croat missiles streaked up from hidden silos, slamming into the Croat ships' hulls. Orbital defense platforms unleashed torrents of railgun fire, shredding through the attackers' armor. Strike craft swarmed out to meet the invaders, weaving and dodging with incredible agility. "Commander, we're taking heavy losses." One of our RIST's officers reported, panic creeping into his voice. "The weapons are punching right through our shields." Elrid snarled, his claws gouging furrows into the armrests of his command chair. These humans were far more formidable than he had anticipated. Their technology might not be as advanced, but they wielded it with deadly skill and creativity. He watched as a human fighter, trailing flames and debris, rammed itself into a Croat frigate. The resulting explosion consuming both vessels ordered the troops to land. Elrid growled, "We'll crush them up close and personal." As the battle raged in space, Croat drop pods slammed into the colony's outskirts. Armored warriors emerged, plasma rifles at the ready, hungry for the kill, but the human defenders were waiting for them. Marines in powered armor engaged the Croat in brutal close-quarters combat, while snipers picked off the reptilian officers with pinpoint accuracy. Elrid's frustration mounted as the reports flooded and the humans were inflicting heavy casualties on his troops. He needed to understand how they were doing it, how they could be such skilled warriors take prisoners. He ordered, "I want to interrogate them myself." The Croat managed to capture a small group of human soldiers, dragging them kicking and screaming onto a transport ship. Elrid strode into the holding cell, his massive frame dwarfing the captives. One of them, a male with the bearing of a leader, glared at him defiantly. "I am Lieutenant Marcus Reeves, United Earth Armed Forces." The human said, his voice steady, "That's all you're getting from me, you scaly bastard." Elrid chuckled, a deep rumble in his throat. He admired this human spirit, even as he yearned to crush it. "For you will tell me everything, ape." Elrid is leaning in close, "Your weapons, your tactics, your weaknesses, or I will make you suffer as no creature has suffered before." Reeves just laughed in his face. "You have no idea what you've started." He spat. "Earth doesn't bow to invaders. We've been preparing for this day for a long time, and now that you've pissed us off, you're gonna regret it." The other humans joined in hurling insults and challenges at their captors. Elrid roared in fury, lashing out with his claws, But even as the humans' blood splattered the deck, they kept laughing. "Enough, execute them all," Ariette bellowed. Hands the Croat guards dragged the prisoners away. Reeves locked eyes with Ulrich one last time with a defiant grin. The human tapped a small device hidden behind his ear. A burst of static hissed from it, followed by a series of clicks and beeps, a distress signal. The human had sent a distress signal to their home world. Ulrich felt a sudden chill run down his spine. The hunt, he realized, had only just begun. Ulrich slammed his fist on the command console, the metal denting under the force of his blow the losses from the initial assault on the human colonies, and been far greater than he ever could have anticipated. These primitives fought with a skill and ferocity that belied their status as a fledgling spacefaring species. "Gather the remaining ships." Ulrich growled to his subordinates. "We will show these humans the true might of the Croat Empire." The battered fleet regrouped, licking its wounds as it prepared for a full-scale invasion of the human homeworld. Ulrich would not make the same mistake of underestimating these apes again. This time he would bring the full force of Croat military power to bear as the warships entered Earth's atmosphere. Alarms blared across the bridge. Sensors detected a massive barrage of incoming missiles, their primitive chemical propulsion systems leaving trails of smoke in their wake. "Nuclear missiles incoming," one of the officers shouted. "Brace for impact." The Croat shields, designed to withstand the heat and energy of plasma weaponry, flared to life. But as the missiles detonated against the shimmering barriers, the ship shuddered violently. Warning lights flashed red as the shields strained under the unexpected assault. "How can this be?" Al demanded, gripping his command chair as the deck pitched beneath him. "Our shields are failing." "Commander, we're detecting energy spikes from the surface." Another officer reported, his voice trembling. "They have weapons we've never seen before." Beams of intense light lanced up from hidden batteries on the ground, slicing through the Croat ships like a hot knife through flesh. The advanced energy weapons ignored the shields entirely, burning through hulls and vaporizing unfortunate crew members in their path. Ulrich felt a sinking feeling in his gut as he watched his fleet being torn apart. The humans had been holding back during the initial skirmishes. They had weapons capable of challenging even the Croats' advanced technology. "We need to get boots on the ground." Ulrich set his mind racing. "If we can capture their leaders, force them to surrender, we may still salvage this invasion." The Croat ground forces, the pride of the Empire, made landfall in major population centers across the planet. They stormed through the streets, their plasma rifles, cutting down any human foolish enough to stand in their way. But as they pushed deeper into the cities, the resistance only intensified. Human soldiers, clad in sleek, powered armor, emerged from hidden bunkers and fortified positions. They moved with a speed and agility that the bulky Croat could not match, darting between buildings and taking pot shots with devastating accuracy. Ulrich watched the helmet cam feeds with growing frustration as his troops were picked off one by one. The humans employed guerrilla tactics, striking hard and fast before melting away into the shadows. They seemed to have an uncanny ability to predict the Croats' moves, always staying one step ahead. "They're adapting to our strategies." Ulrich muttered, his claws digging into the armrest of his chair. How can they be so flexible in their thinking? As the ground battles raged on, the humans continued to employ unconventional weapons and tactics. Swarms of drones buzzed overhead, dropping explosive payloads on Croat positions. Hacked Croat equipment turned against its own users, sowing chaos and confusion among the invaders. Hillary's frustration boiled over into rage as the reports of mounting losses flooded in. The humans were outmaneuvering him at every turn, both in space and on the ground. The Croat Empire, the apex predators of the galaxy, were being beaten back by a species they had once considered little more than prey. Ulrich slammed his fist into the console, the metal crumpling under the force of his blow. The battle on Earth was not going as planned. The humans were proving to be far more resilient and resourceful than he had ever anticipated. Their guerrilla tactics and advanced weaponry were taking a heavy toll on his ground forces. Suddenly, an urgent transmission from the Croat homeworld cut through the chaos of the bridge. Ulrich's blood ran cold as he listened to the panicked voice of the Croat High Council. "Commander Ulred, we are under attack." The counselor screamed, the sound of explosions and alarms nearly drowning out his words. "A human fleet has entered our system and is laying waste to our defenses." Ulred's mind raced as he processed this shocking development. The humans had launched a counterattack on the Croat Empire itself. It was a bold and unexpected move, one that he had not considered possible given the humans' previously unknown technological capabilities. How many ships had demanded his voice, barely concealing his growing fear and rage in? At least 100 warships, all equipped with the same weapons they used to defend their own world. The counselor replied, his voice trembling. "They're being led by an Admiral, Isaac Novak." "All right, our defenses are crumbling. We need reinforcements now." Ulred's claws dug into his palms, drawing blood. He was torn between his duty to conquer Earth and his desire to save his own species from annihilation. The humans had outplayed him at every turn, and now they were threatening the very heart of the Croat Empire. With a heavy heart, Ulred made his decision. All ships prepare to withdraw from Earth. He ordered, his voice thick with barely contained rage. "We must return to defend the home world." As the Croat fleet disengaged from Earth and set course for their home system, Ulred couldn't shake the feeling that he was falling into another human trap. His suspicions were confirmed when they arrived at the Croat system, only to find a massive human fleet waiting for them. The human warships, sleek and deadly, had set up a blockade around the system, cutting off any chance of escape or reinforcement. Ulred's fleet was caught between the hammer of the human attackers and the anvil of their own besieged homeworld. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human flagship." One of the Croat officers reported, his voice trembling. Ulred's eyes narrowed as the image of a human admiral appeared on the view screen. The man was tall and broad-shouldered, with a face etched with determination and a hint of triumph. "Commander Ulred, I am Admiral Isaac Novak of the United Earth Fleet." The human said, his voice calm and confident. "Your invasion of our world has failed. Your forces are in disarray, and your home world is under our control. I demand your immediate and unconditional surrender." Ulrich snarled, his claws gouging deep furrows into the armrests of his command chair. The human's words were like daggers to his pride, but he could not deny the truth of them. The Croat Empire, once the undisputed apex predators of the galaxy, had been brought to its knees by a species they had once considered nothing more than prey. The battle for Earth had been lost, and with it, the future of the Croat hung in the balance. Ulred knew that he had gravely underestimated the humans, and now his species would pay the price for his hubris as the human fleet closed in around them. Weapons primed and ready, Ulred faced the most difficult decision of his life. To surrender would be to admit defeat, to shatter the very foundations of Croat society. But to fight on would be to risk the complete annihilation of his species. With a heavy heart, made his choice. The fate of the Croat Empire and the future of his people now lay in the hands of the humans they had once sought to conquer. Ulred's claws twitched with barely contained rage as he stared at the view screen, Admiral Novak's face, a mask of calm determination. The human admiral had outmaneuvered him at every turn, and now the Croat Empire teetered on the brink of collapse, but Ulred refused to accept defeat. His predatory instinct screaming at him to fight back. Admiral Novak Ulred growled, his voice dripping with menace. "I challenge you to a duel, as per the ancient traditions of the Croat, a battle between leaders to decide the fate of our species. Do you accept?" Novak's eyes narrowed, a flicker of surprise crossing his features before being replaced by a steely resolve. "I accept your challenge. Commander Ulred, name the time and place." Ulred bared his fangs in a savage grin. "We will meet on the neutral planet of Zathos in one Earth day. Come alone and unarmed. We will settle this as true warriors." The human admiral nodded curtly. "I will be there." As the transmission ended, Ulred's bridge crew erupted into a cacophony of hisses and snarls. "Commander, this is a mistake." One of his officers protested. "The humans have proven themselves to be treacherous. This could be a trap." Kuldrith silenced him with a fierce glare. "I will not cower before these apes." He snarled, "I am a Croat warrior, and I will face our enemy with honor." The journey to Zarathus was tense. the Croat fleet maintaining a wary distance from the human ships that shadowed their every move. Ulrich spent the time in silent meditation, focusing his mind and body for the battle to come. When they arrived at the designated coordinates, Ulrich beamed down to the planet's surface alone. As agreed, the landscape was a barren expanse of red sand and jagged rocks, the sky above a sickly green. Man, and there standing amidst the desolation, was Admiral Novak. The human was clad in a form-fitting combat suit. His posture relaxed but alert. He carried no visible weapons, but Ulrich knew better than to underestimate him. "I'm surprised. You came alone." Ulrich called out as he approached, his claws flexing in anticipation. "I would have thought you'd bring an army to protect you." Novak smiled thinly. "I don't need an army to defeat you. Ulrich, I've been studying your kind for years, learning your weaknesses. This fight was over before it began." Ulrich roared in fury and charged his massive frame, covering the distance between them in seconds. But Novak was ready for him. The human ducked under Ulrich's slashing claws and delivered a devastating series of blows to the Krolof's joints and pressure points. Ulrich staggered back, his eyes widening in shock. The human moved with a speed and precision that should have been impossible for his species. He countered Ulrich's every attack, his strikes exploiting the weaknesses in Krolof physiology with surgical precision. The battle raged across the barren landscape. The two combatants locked in a deadly dance. Ulrich's strength and ferocity were met by Novak's skill and cunning, neither able to gain a decisive advantage. But as the fight wore on, Ulrich began to tire, his movements growing sluggish and clumsy. Novak pressed his advantage, raining down blows on the exhausted Krolof until Ulrich collapsed to his knees, beaten and broken. How Ulrich gasped, his voice thick with pain and humiliation. How could a human defeat me? Novak stood over him, his expression grim. "We've been preparing for this war for decades," he said, "ever since we first detected your species' aggressive expansion. We studied you, learned everything we could about your biology, your technology, your tactics, and then we developed countermeasures." The human admiral reached down and grabbed Ulrich by the throat, holding him to his feet. "Your species. Arrogance was your downfall," Novak said, his voice cold. "You underestimated us, thought us weak and primitive, but in doing so, you sealed your own fate." Novak released his grip, and Ulrich slumped to the ground, defeated in body and spirit. The human towered over him, a vengeful god passing judgment on the fallen. "I am giving you a choice." Ulrich Novak said his words, ringing with finality. "Surrender unconditionally and order your forces to stand down or refuse and watch as we annihilate your species from existence." The Croat Empire ends today, one way or another. Howard looked up at his conqueror, despair and rage warring in his heart. To surrender would be to admit defeat, to betray everything the Krolof stood for, but to defy the humans now would be to condemn his entire species to extinction. In that moment, Ulrich knew that the era of Krolof dominance had come to an end. The apex predators had been outmatched and outplayed by a species they had once considered nothing more than prey. With a shuddering breath, Ulrich bowed his head in submission. "I surrender." He whispered the words tasting like ashes on his tongue. "The Croat Empire is yours." Novak nodded solemnly, his face a mask of grim satisfaction. "A wise choice, Commander." He said, "Your species will be spared, but the Croat will never again threaten the peace of the galaxy that I can promise you." Hazel Rep was led away in chains. He couldn't help but marvel at the cruel irony of fate. The Croat had set out to conquer the humans, to enslave them and claim their world as their own. But in the end, it was the humans who had conquered them, their superior intellect and adaptability triumphing over the Croat's brute strength and savagery. The galaxy would never be the same. Ulrich realized the balance of power had shifted and a new era had begun. An era in which the humans, once dismissed as weak and primitive, would reign supreme as the undisputed masters of the stars. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. The Croat Empire underestimated humanity, and it cost them everything. But what if the roles were reversed? What if humans were the invaders, and the galaxy had to defend itself against our relentless will. As the Croat faced their darkest hour, they learned a painful truth: never corner a species that thrives on adversity. Will humanity's triumph mark the beginning of a new era, or is this just the start of a larger conflict? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time as we dive deeper into the epic tales of Sci-fi Humanity, where the fate of the galaxy is always one decision away from chaos.